Tracking new developments in the death of a young mother. Kristopher Drayton sits in jail on a $500,000 bond at this hour, charged with manslaughter in connection with the shooting death of his girlfriend, 19-year-old Keniyah Williams. Police say Williams was shot in the head late Tuesday night inside Drayton's vehicle. Good evening to you. I'm Jordan Williams.
And I'm Cladra Rhodes. Today, for the first time, we're hearing from the victim's family. 12 News reporter Cameron Burchett joins us with their message.
Jordan, Cladra, today I spoke to Ashley Lacey, the mother of Keniyah Williams. She tells me that her world has been turned upside down after her daughter was shot and killed Tuesday night.
I try to be strong, but it's been hard.
Ashley Lacey says her 19-year-old daughter, Keniyah Williams, was just like any other teenager.
She was in sports, ran track, and she had multiple friends. She was just a people's person, and she was goofy and just like to have fun.
Keniyah graduated from Woodville High School in 2024 and was attending Angelina College in Lufkin.
She was doing online at Angelina for, of all things, law enforcement.
Keniyah was in Jasper on Tuesday visiting her boyfriend, Kristopher Drayton, when she was shot and killed.
A single gunshot shattered the night air near West Gibson and Main Street in Jasper, Texas. Inside a car, a 19-year-old mother slumped over, fatally wounded. In the back seat, 2 children, one just 2 months old, would become witnesses to a tragedy they were too young to understand. The man behind the wheel claimed it was an accident. Police found a different story when they discovered he had thrown the gun out the window before rushing to the hospital. Was this truly a terrible accident, as Kristopher Drayton claimed? Or did something more sinister unfold during what should have been a routine drive on May 27, 2025? The death of Keniyah Williams raises disturbing questions about what happens behind closed doors, or in this case, inside a car where no one but a toddler, an infant, and the man with the gun could see what really happened. When investigators arrived at Christus Jasper Memorial Hospital that night, they found a young woman with a gunshot wound to the head, a frantic boyfriend with a changing story, and 2 children who had just lost their mother forever. Just hours earlier, Keniyah had been discussing summer plans with her mother. By midnight, she was gone. Another statistic in America's ongoing epidemic of gun deaths. Another young life ended with questions that may never be fully answered. The investigation would reveal a complex web of relationship dynamics, questionable decisions, and a moment of either tragic carelessness or deliberate violence that transformed multiple lives in an instant. As we uncover what happened that night in Jasper, Texas, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Have similar tragedies touched your community? The story of Keniyah Williams isn't just about one family's loss. It's about the intersection of firearms, relationships, and split-second decisions that can never be undone. Welcome to the Dark Trace Crime Stories. Whether you're returning or joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. If you find value in stories that shine a light on justice and the lives behind the headlines, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing, liking this video, and sharing it with others. Born and raised in Woodville, Texas, Keniyah Williams was known throughout town for her warm smile and determined spirit. The small community, nestled in the eastern part of the state, provided the backdrop for a life that, while brief, was filled with purpose and potential. At Woodville High School, Keniyah wasn't just another student. She was a standout. Her athletic abilities shone brightest on the basketball court, where her quick reflexes and strategic thinking made her a valuable team member. On the track field, she demonstrated the same persistence that characterized her approach to life, pushing through fatigue and challenges to cross finish lines. These weren't just extracurricular activities for Keniyah. They were building blocks for discipline and resilience that would serve her when life's challenges mounted. In 2024, Keniyah proudly walked across the graduation stage at Woodville High. For many teenagers, this milestone marks the carefree transition to college life. For Keniyah, it represented something more complex. She was already mother to 1-year-old Cameron, balancing homework with diaper changes, study sessions with bedtime stories. Despite the added responsibilities of motherhood, Keniyah refused to abandon her educational dreams. She enrolled at Angelina College, commuting to classes while arranging childcare and maintaining her family responsibilities. When her second son, Christian, arrived in March 2025, Keniyah's juggling act became even more impressive. She completed her freshman year with 2 children under her wing, a testament to her extraordinary commitment. Nursing wasn't a random career choice for Keniyah. Those who knew her best understood why this path called to her. She always had that caring nature, her mother Ashley Lacey recalled. Even as a little girl, she was the one putting bandages on everyone's scrapes. The profession aligned perfectly with her natural compassion and desire to help others. But practicality played a role too. Keniyah recognized that nursing offered stability, respect, and the means to provide for her young family. She spoke often about creating security for Cameron and Christian, about building a life where they wouldn't want for anything essential. She was the definition of a devoted mother, her stepfather John Lacey shared. Everything she did, school, work, planning for the future, it was all for those boys. This sentiment echoes through every account of Keniyah's character. Her children weren't obstacles to her dreams. They were the reason she dreamed bigger. Friends described a young woman who somehow managed to attend classes, care for her children, maintain relationships, and still find moments to laugh. She never complained, one friend noted. She just figured out solutions and kept moving forward. Ashley Lacey, speaking through tears after her daughter's death, painted the picture of a daughter whose kindness extended to everyone she met. Keniyah believed in people. She saw the good in situations that others might write off. That's just who she was. Perhaps most remarkable about Keniyah was her refusal to be defined solely by her challenges. Yes, she was a young mother. Yes, she faced financial constraints and time pressures. But in Woodville, she was also known as a basketball player, a dedicated student, a loyal friend, a loving daughter, and a young woman with plans that extended far beyond the city limits. Never in a million years would I think that I would ever have to bury my own child, Ashley Lacey said, capturing the profound injustice of a life so full of promise ending so abruptly. May 27, 2025 began as an ordinary Tuesday in East Texas. The late spring heat had settled in, with temperatures hovering in the high 80s as evening approached. For Keniyah Williams, it was a day like many others, balancing the needs of her 2-year-old son Cameron and 2-month-old infant Christian, while managing her own responsibilities. As darkness fell over Jasper County, Keniyah found herself in a car with 23-year-old Kristopher Drayton Jr, her boyfriend. The couple had been together long enough for him to father her youngest child, Christian, though the full nature of their relationship remains somewhat private. What we know with certainty is that on this night, both of Keniyah's young sons were secured in the back seat of the vehicle. The car moved through the streets of Jasper, Texas, a town about 30 miles from Keniyah's hometown of Woodville. The intersection of West Gibson and Main Street would soon become significant in police reports, the location where everything would change for this young family. According to statements Drayton later gave to investigators, what began as a normal conversation between the couple gradually shifted. Words became heated, voices raised. The specific subject of their disagreement hasn't been publicly disclosed, but the tension inside the vehicle escalated as they continued driving. Cameron, at 2 years old, was old enough to sense the changing atmosphere in the car. Christian, just 2 months old, remained oblivious in his car seat, perhaps sleeping through the beginning of the argument that would ultimately leave him motherless. What happened next is based on Drayton's account to police, as documented in the arrest affidavit. As the argument intensified, Drayton claims he made a decision that would prove fatal. He told investigators that he removed a pistol from his waistband. Why he was carrying the weapon hasn't been explained in public records. According to a statement, he wasn't brandishing the gun as a threat, but was attempting to place it between the driver's seat and the center console. Whether this action was meant to secure the weapon or remove it from the heated situation remains unclear. What is tragically certain is what happened next. The gun discharged. A single bullet struck Keniyah in the head. In an instant, the argument was forgotten. The car filled with a new kind of tension, panic, shock, and the desperate realization that something terrible had occurred. Drayton would later tell police the discharge was accidental, not intentional. In the back seat, Cameron may have begun crying, confused and frightened by the sudden loud noise and the dramatic change in the adult's behavior. Christian, still an infant, remained strapped in his car seat, uncomprehending of how his life had just fundamentally changed. According to police reports, Drayton's next actions would later become crucial evidence in the case. Rather than immediately calling 911, he made the decision to discard the firearm, throwing it out of the car window near the intersection where the shooting occurred. This action would later complicate his claims of an accidental discharge. With Keniyah gravely wounded beside him and her 2 young children in the back, Drayton turned the vehicle toward Christus Jasper Memorial Hospital. The drive, while not geographically long, must have felt endless. Every second that ticked by was critical for Keniyah, whose life literally hung in the balance as blood soaked the passenger seat. Hospital security cameras captured the moment Drayton arrived, frantically seeking help. Medical personnel rushed to the vehicle, quickly assessing Keniyah's condition and transferring her inside for emergency treatment. The children, witnesses to trauma no child should endure, were taken into protective care by hospital staff, while doctors fought to save their mother. Despite the medical team's best efforts, Keniyah's injury proved catastrophic. The bullet had caused irreparable damage. In the sterile halls of Christus Jasper Memorial Hospital, 19-year-old Keniyah Williams, athlete, student, daughter, and mother of 2, was pronounced dead. The hospital, meant to be a place of healing, instead became the setting for a family's worst nightmare. As medical staff delivered the devastating news, police officers arrived, responding to reports of a gunshot victim. They found Drayton at the hospital, still present after bringing Keniyah in. The night that began with an argument in a car ended with a young mother dead, 2 children motherless, and a 23-year-old man about to face the criminal justice system for his role in a tragedy that would forever alter multiple lives. The emergency room at Christus Jasper Memorial Hospital became the epicenter of a rapidly unfolding investigation on the night of May 27, 2025. Medical personnel had done everything possible to save Keniyah Williams, but the gunshot wound to her head proved fatal. The official pronouncement of death transformed what might have been treated as a medical emergency into a potential crime scene. Hospital protocol in such situations is clear. Staff immediately notified the Jasper Police Department that they had received a gunshot victim who had not survived. Officers responded promptly, arriving to find Kristopher Drayton still at the hospital. This detail would later prove significant. Unlike some perpetrators who flee after violent incidents, Drayton remained present, a fact his defense would later emphasize. The initial police response involved securing the scene, separating witnesses, and beginning the preliminary investigation. Officers took custody of Drayton, not yet placing him under arrest, but ensuring he remained available for questioning. Meanwhile, other officers were dispatched to the reported location of the shooting near West Gibson and Main Street to search for evidence. In the quiet hospital room where Keniyah's body lay, investigators documented the nature of her injuries, while other officers began the difficult process of notifying her family. Ashley and John Lacey would soon receive the phone call that no parent ever wants to answer, one informing them that their daughter was gone. During initial questioning, Drayton provided his version of events to investigators. According to police reports, he claimed that he and Keniyah had been arguing while driving. He stated that during this argument, he removed a pistol from his waistband and was attempting to place it between the driver's seat and center console when it accidentally discharged, striking Keniyah in the head. Drayton also admitted to investigators that after the shooting, he discarded the firearm by throwing it out of the car window before driving Keniyah to the hospital. This admission led police back to the intersection, where a thorough search was conducted. In what investigators considered a significant break, the search team recovered a firearm near the described location. The weapon was secured as evidence and transported to the crime lab for analysis, including ballistics testing to confirm it was indeed the gun used in the shooting. The recovery of this physical evidence strengthened the case against Drayton, particularly given his admission about discarding it. As the investigation progressed through the night and into the following day, detectives interviewed additional witnesses, reviewed any available surveillance footage from businesses near the intersection, and continued building their case. The presence of the two children in the vehicle during the shooting added another layer of complexity and gravity to the situation. Based on the evidence gathered, including Drayton's own statements, physical evidence, and the medical examiner's preliminary findings, authorities made the decision to charge Kristopher Drayton Jr. with manslaughter. This charge reflects the legal assessment that while Drayton may not have intended to kill Keniyah, his actions showed reckless disregard for human life that resulted in her death. Drayton was formally arrested and processed into the Jasper County justice system. Within 48 hours of the shooting, he appeared before a judge for arraignment, where the charges were formally read and bail considerations were addressed. The court set his bond at $500,000, a substantial amount reflecting the seriousness of the offense and potential flight risk. Court documents indicate that Drayton was cooperating with investigators throughout this process. His legal representation began building a defense around the claim of accidental discharge, while prosecutors focused on the recklessness of handling a loaded firearm during an argument with children present in the vehicle. As news of the charges spread through the community, public reaction was mixed. Some expressed sympathy for what they viewed as a tragic accident, while others questioned why Drayton had a loaded gun in his waistband in the first place, and why he chose to handle it during an argument. The investigation remained active, with authorities awaiting the formal autopsy results to confirm the preliminary findings and potentially provide additional evidence about the angle and proximity of the shot, details that could either support or contradict Drayton's version of events. What do you think about Drayton's claim this was accidental? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Was discarding the weapon the action of someone panicking after a terrible accident? Or does it suggest something more concerning? Your perspective matters as we continue examining this heartbreaking case.
Was shot and killed Tuesday night.
I try to be strong, but it's been hard.
Ashley Lacey says her 19-year-old daughter, Keniyah Williams, was just like any other teenager.
She was in sports, ran track, and she had multiple friends. She was just a people's person, and she was goofy and just liked to have fun. I was doing online at Angelina for, of all things, law enforcement.
Keniyah was in Jasper on Tuesday visiting her boyfriend, Kristopher Drayton, when she was shot and killed.
I want justice. I want to know what actually happened.
According to a probable cause affidavit, Kristopher Drayton told investigators that he and Williams were driving the area of Main Street and U.S. Highway 190 when they began arguing. Drayton claims he removed his pistol from his waistband and was placing it between the driver's seat and center console when the pistol went off. Keniyah was
in the
shot
aftermath
in
of
the head.
Keniyah Williams' death, two innocent lives remain forever changed. Her sons, 2-year-old Cameron and 2-month-old Christian. These children, secured in their car seats during that fateful drive, became silent witnesses to a tragedy they were too young to comprehend, but would carry with them throughout their lives. The police report confirms both boys were present in the vehicle when the gun discharged. Cameron, at 2 years old, was likely aware something terrible had happened. The loud noise, the sudden chaos, his mother's unresponsiveness. Christian, just 8 weeks old, remained oblivious in the moment, yet would grow up never knowing his mother except through photographs and stories. When emergency responders arrived at the hospital, their focus extended beyond Keniyah to include the immediate safety and well-being of these children. Social services were notified and temporary arrangements were made while authorities contacted Keniyah's family. The boys, suddenly motherless, needed immediate comfort and stability during those chaotic first hours. Ashley Lacey, Keniyah's mother, received 2 devastating pieces of information simultaneously. Her daughter was dead, and her grandsons needed her immediately. Through her own overwhelming grief, she had to find strength to become the rock these children would need. Never in a million years would I think that I would ever have to bury my own child, Ashley told local reporters in the days following the tragedy. Her pain was evident, yet so was her resolve. These boys are all we have left of Keniyah. They will know their mother through us. The transition was immediate and jarring. Ashley and John Lacey, who had been enjoying their roles as grandparents, the ones who could spoil the children and then send them home, now faced the prospect of raising 2 young boys full-time. Overnight, they became primary caregivers rather than occasional babysitters. We're their family, and we'll raise them with all the love Keniyah would have given them, John Lacey stated firmly when asked about the children's future. The determination in his voice reflected the family's commitment to honoring Keniyah's memory through the care of her sons. The practical challenges were immense. Cameron, at 2, was in the midst of developing his personality, vocabulary, and understanding of the world. He would ask for his mother, not understanding why she no longer appeared. Christian required round-the-clock infant care, feedings every few hours, diaper changes, and the constant attention newborns demand. Ashley Lacey spoke about the difficulty of balancing her own grief with the children's needs. Some days I can barely get out of bed thinking about Keniyah, but then Christian cries or Cameron calls for me, and I have to push through. They need me present, not just physically, but emotionally. We're determined these boys will know who their mother was, Ashley explained. They'll know she was working toward becoming a nurse. They'll know she played basketball and ran track. They'll know how much she loved them and the plans she had for their future together. The family has been intentional about keeping Keniyah's memory alive through photographs displayed prominently in their home, through stories told daily, and through continuing some of the traditions she had begun with her sons. For Cameron especially, these connections help maintain his bond with the mother he's beginning to forget in person, but will always know through the legacy his family preserves. The tragedy of Keniyah Williams offers more than just a heartbreaking narrative. It presents an opportunity to examine how similar outcomes might be prevented. While we cannot change what happened to Keniyah, her story can serve as a catalyst for awareness and action that might save others. For individuals in relationships where tension exists, recognizing potential danger before it escalates is crucial. Healthy relationships involve disagreements, but they shouldn't include fear, control, or threats. When arguments consistently escalate beyond verbal disagreement to include intimidation, property damage, or threats, these are significant warning signs that should not be ignored. The presence of firearms dramatically increases risk. A crucial preventative measure is honest assessment of whether weapons and volatile emotions should coexist. For gun owners, this means implementing strict safety protocols, secure storage, separation of ammunition, and a commitment to never handle firearms during arguments or while emotionally distressed. Young parents like Keniyah face unique pressures that can complicate relationship dynamics. The financial strain of raising children, sleep deprivation, and the adjustment to parental responsibilities can intensify normal relationship stresses. Recognizing these factors isn't about making excuses for harmful behavior, but understanding the conditions that might make violence more likely. As the sun rises over Woodville, Texas each morning, it illuminates the photographs of Keniyah Williams that now adorn her family's home. Images of a young woman in a graduation cap, holding her children, smiling with the confidence of someone with plans for tomorrow. These images have become touchstones of memory for a family navigating the aftermath of unimaginable loss. Keniyah's legacy extends beyond these photographs. It lives in her sons, Cameron and Christian, who carry her features, her spirit, and the future she envisioned for them. Though they lost their mother far too soon, the love she poured into their early days continues to shape their lives through the dedicated care of their grandmother, grandfather, and extended family. The legal case against Kristopher Drayton continues to move through the Texas judicial system. He remains charged with manslaughter, facing a potential sentence of 2 to 20 years if convicted. His defense maintains the shooting was accidental, while prosecutors focus on the recklessness of handling a loaded firearm during an argument with children present. As with many cases involving intimate partner violence, the full truth may never be completely known to anyone but those who were present. For Ashley and John Lacey, justice for their daughter exists alongside their commitment to raising her sons. The family's healing journey remains ongoing and nonlinear. There are days when grief overwhelms, when the absence of Keniyah at family gatherings or simple daily moments creates a void that nothing can fill. There are also days of joy, when Cameron says something that reminds them of his mother, or when Christian reaches milestones she would have celebrated. We're learning to carry her with us, Ashley Lacey explained recently. Not to move on, but to move forward with her memory guiding us. The tragedy of Keniyah Williams reminds us of how quickly life can change, how precious each day is, and how vital it is to recognize warning signs before violence occurs. Her story is not just about loss, but about potential. The nursing career that never materialized, the mother her children will know only through stories, the woman who balanced so much with such grace until a single bullet changed everything. If this story moved you, please hit the like button and subscribe to Dark Trace Crime Stories for more in-depth coverage of cases that matter. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these important narratives and raising awareness about issues that affect real families in communities across America. This episode is dedicated to the memory of Keniyah Williams and to all young mothers working to build better futures for their children. If you or someone you know is in a relationship where firearms and conflict coexist, please reach out for help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-SAFE. Local resources exist in communities nationwide, offering support without judgment. Remember that intervention before tragedy is possible. Recognizing warning signs, speaking up when concerned, and creating communities where seeking help carries no stigma are ways we can all honor Keniyah's memory and perhaps prevent another family from experiencing such devastating loss. The story of Keniyah Williams has ended, but the impact of her life and her death continues through her children, her family, and now through all who have heard her story.